Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King. We're here on highvibe.tv for After Dark, where we're going to be talking. It's a spiritual talk show on highvibe.tv. And, of course, to support a show like this, to continue it to be free, we always ask to check out highvibe.tv. We got awesome aspects on there. And, of course, we've got lots of daily video horoscopes. We got awesome daily and weekly content and all spiritual subjects. We also got free content. And you can buy videos individually. So if you don't want to subscribe, you just want to buy one individual video, you can do that. We also have the highvibetvschool.com, which you can go to highvibe.tv, where we have an awesome lightworker school. And that leads me to tonight's guests, which we have Sarah Paasch in the house. She's an amazing astrologer, shadow work. She does a million things, and you can find her at sarahpaasch.com, right?
Yep.
And I have done so much work with her. If you want to get a reading with her, definitely check out her site. And then we got Dylan, the Spirit Advisor, in the house. The best human design person I know in the world. He has changed my life with it and with readings. Definitely check him out. And he's a spirit advisor, so he goes in a lot of different areas. If you want to get a reading with him, check him out and check both of them out on Instagram. And if you haven't followed me yet, follow me, the Leo Kingdom. And I got them tagged all on that. Well, we're in between eclipses. How you two feeling?
Weird.
I'm feeling in and out of it. Like, I feel like I'm really just floating a little bit. And I'm in this like good seat of observation right now. I don't feel lost in the mix. I just feel like waves of things keep washing through, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But
waves, I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about that in the car because I'm feeling waves too. And it's brought my attention, especially recently, to this whole kind of solar flare phenomenon and also just the actual frequency of the earth, the Schumann resonance being like the default at about 7 hertz. And the earth has been having these huge leaps up to like 50 hertz, which is like unheard of. And obviously is affecting our frequency as we're all living on the earth. So I feel like that's just been in the forefront of my awareness lately is like they're almost separate from astrology, or they're probably part of the astrology too, but just like these natural flare-ups of solar or earth energy.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, like, we're already in between eclipses, so like these nodal aspect points are very potent on Earth already, and especially regarding the moon, right, and how it does pull on this Earth and how it is pulling gravity. There's so much energy, and then we're getting like the sun opposing Saturn and the sun opposing Pluto on these nodes. So there is some major stretching. And actually, I was talking yesterday about the magnetic pole shift and how it actually is starting to get scary, because there was an article last week that says now the North Pole is by Siberia. That's in Russia. When the North we always associate with in Canada.
Whoa.
And the South in Antarctica. And now the South Pole is in the middle of the ocean. And so it's starting to do it. And then they've had to adjust all the GPS systems because those GPS satellites are fixed, you know? They were fixed on understanding, this is always the North Pole. Well, wait, it's moving. And it's not like the satellites go, let's track it, you know? Like, they were built back in the day when there was like, it's kind of like Y2K, right? Like, we weren't ever preparing for, we're going into the 2000s? Like, it's almost like, well, there's never going to be the pole shift, so we'll just make the GPS system that way.
Oh my gosh, I just had the coolest download while you were saying that. I was just thinking about how, like, right now, this eclipse cycle literally feels like, and especially today with the sun, Saturn, North Node, South Node, it feels like the first 6 months of the year, it's almost like we're restarting again. And it's like our GPS, our wiring is being reset to like wherever the course is being reset. Like, not way different, obviously, but there is like that kind of like, I thought for sure it was here, and there's some sort of like resetting happening.
Totally.
Yeah. But it's the GPS gets reset with that. Like, once we catch that it's changed, then we make the change to like the actual GPS system. And kind of remembering that like the destination will always be like, we'll always get there, but we might have to update the GPS system we're using.
Right. And we might have to like pause because we may not know we're going for a short time while that changeover happens.
Yeah.
And don't get scared because that could be scary. Like all of a sudden you don't know where you're going.
No, I know.
And I definitely have been feeling that. I can say this is my week to be vulnerable on camera because I've been feeling these transits majorly. And usually I feel like I'm somebody that's an observer of transits, and that's part of my job as the spirit advisor, is to be an authority on objectively what's going on. But lately it's just been my GPS system nowhere to be found lately.
Yeah.
But that's what actually makes you a better, conduit of this information, is when you go through this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no perfect, like, spiritual aligned person that just is perfect all the time. It is in these moments where you do have to go through it that makes you greater. And I think we're all going through that. So there's a lot of vulnerability. The Neptune North Nodes thing is still going on, and the sun's going to try Neptune here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what's funny is I did deep astrology. I didn't even mention that because it's like there's so much going on that it's almost like Neptune is hidden.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's how, like, there's so much other like disturbing energies or actually like stimulating energies, or Mercury retrograde and Mars, right?
Yeah.
But it's like Neptune's just in the background, just kind of like doing its normal thing, like hiding, and in a perfect trine with the sun, and like just gonna be like, I guess nobody's paying attention to this.
Well, maybe it's like kind of holding this really serene background frequency while we all go through our like big shifts. That's how I saw it while you were saying that. I just felt like Neptune's out there just like perfectly holding space for everything, trining the sun, while these eclipses just kind of reroute our identity and make us like put our face in the poop, so to speak, in the sense of like showing us where we've bought into maybe collective dreams or societal dreams or things that Capricorn has said, these are the values for X amount of years. And now we're having to be like, wait, that value is not going to serve me. That value is not going to serve the planet, the future, my children's children. And we're having to just like humble ourselves and our dreams and kind of make them more real. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. And also, it feels like it's funny that the Neptune thing got missed, because right now what I'm noticing, I kind of caught it, I feel like, in the last couple of days, is like there's this like perception that everything's going wrong and I've like failed in all these ways. Like I'm being shown all these things that I've almost like relapsed in these like patterns or these triggers or whatever. And it feels like I'm like lost, or I'm losing connection, or I'm losing clarity. And I'm like, I feel off track, when in reality, there's like something happening in that process. Like it's that Saturn kind of like you're in the growth process, and the gift will be seen after. So there's like a mastery in process. There's like something happening in process, but it's like that. It's like you're kind of missed it because you're in it. You're in the trenches. You're like in the process of uncovering what it is. And there's something happening. Like there's actually some kind of skill or muscle, whether it's like faith or it's an actual like, skill in a work environment, or maybe communication, but it feels like nothing's working in communication, or I feel like everything's falling apart and I can't trust it. It's like, actually, that's when you're growing your trust. That's when you're learning communication. You're like forced to like face these things.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm like laughing because I'm like, I feel like I've used this energy really good lately. So I'm like, yes, like but I also have Mars on my side now. I'm like, yes. So I had the courage to do it, right? And I think that's what Mars and Leo's teaching people right now, is like with the sun opposing Saturn, it's like we have to step up. We do kind of have to like do something. We can't avoid. Neptune trying the sun kind of is like, well, we could kind of avoid it a little bit, right? Like we can kind of pass or by it or look at it. But Saturn's like, no. Like I want to do something. We need to make a choice. We need to scramble. But the sun in Cancer is like, I'm tired. Like, I just need to like make sure I'm okay. And with Neptune trining it, it's like, I just need to be like, okay. But there is that Mars in Leo with Mercury retrograde that was just on top yesterday. Like, there's this, like, you can do it and don't like freak out. Like, you got this. Like, you know, like da 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 da. Like, you know, I feel that though. I feel like there's a lot of love around. There's a lot of great things here. And so this is like a moment where you do the work and you show up and you're like, this is just what? And it's like weird. Like, I was talking to you guys backstage and it was like, everything I just showed up in my life with like, I know integrity. And I'm like, well, let me just see what the universe is going to do. But I'm going to show up and I'm going to like throw something on the table. Mm-hmm. Like, it kind of feels like I'm going to just throw it on the table and see what the universe does. And I think it's like when you can make that commitment right now in life where you're like, bam, like here and boom. It's like do or die in a weird way. Like, there is a sun opposed Pluto this week coming. Mm-hmm. But I think when you just kind of just pop it on the table and go, and this is the integrity, and I don't know how it's going to go, but I will give my integrity in whatever choice that the universe makes at this point for me. I know that I'm going to be in alignment with my true self that's going to fulfill me, whatever that might be, because I'm willing to like separate my own ego. I think that with Chiron retrograde today in Aries, like we think we know how it might look, but we don't. Like, it is just not that way. And like, I didn't expect a bug to be flying in the middle of the stage right now. But, you know, that's just like Chiron retrograde in Aries. Like, bugs are in life.
Yeah. And it's always like, when you were saying the sun opposed Pluto part of it, I was like, it's going to get messy. And like a lot of the cards and the readings I've been getting, the messages have been following that heart, like that intensity of just like following the heart and trusting, and then entering into that space of like the void, this like just dark kind of like, you don't know where you are, you don't know what's happening. All the shit comes up. We know that. Like, anytime we take a risk, anytime we take a leap, all of that's going to come up. But the medicine of Pluto is to surrender, right? It's like the power, the force of nature, and to be in a state. I think the gift of being so tired right now is like, we can't override ourselves. Like, we've pushed ourselves past a point, and I think we're being halted. At least I know for me, it's been like, you have to rest, you have to slow down, you have to like stop and really like let it happen, you know, and like lean into it. But yeah, it's like we can transcend so much right now by like going in, just like straight through it. Yeah,
I like that you bring up the stopping. But Mars doesn't want that, and the Sun and Rahu don't want that. You know, like the Sun and Rahu are like trying to be like, yes, like whatever feels the best. Maybe that is more rest or sleep. But I think this goes into this more identity form of like soul, of like what makes me feel good. And Venus, of course, with the sextile to Uranus that just happened in the square to Chiron, was kind of like, yeah, things are not looking like they are. And there is another door, but it's definitely going to take some of my self-worth practice and my ability to trust in this knowing of there is this other door that is better, but it's definitely not the door that I think it should look like or that I want it to look like either. You know, that's comfortable. Like, it's not comfortable.
Not comfortable.
But actually it is by going that weird way. It's almost like, you know, like climbing up in the attic to get out of the house. Like, I'm going to get dirty. That's not going to be good. But actually a flood just comes through the house or something. You're like, oh, good thing I'm up in the attic. And then what was that, Toys in the Attic or whatever, the book like series, like, or whatever. There was an attic story as a kid. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it exists. Yeah. I don't know what it's about.
Or that was the name of a bong shop, I think, when I was a kid. It was like Toys in the Attic.
I don't know. I've got nothing.
It's what the cool kids watched. I didn't see it.
It was a book. It was like something in the attic.
Oh. Well, that's interesting. I had a dream about an attic. That's funny. So off topic. But I was also, you were saying that, and it was like the door that you don't think it is and you don't want to go through it. But that's where it's like that outdated GPS. It's an outdated ego. Like, it's like this idea of self that we've just been like, we think we've been growing into it. Like, we think we've been like maturing into this, like, I know who I am and I've become this like person. And there's like this like clear, like right now, Mercury retrograde in Leo. It's like, check yourself. Like, literally, like, check yourself. There's something about this like you're holding on to that's actually like limiting you. Like just let it go and actually be yourself and take that random door. That's a door you want to take, that's more natural, that feels better. And that you don't know what's in there because you've never gone in that door because you never let yourself just be your full self.
Yeah, I think the kind of framework is really being laid down now for like the Aquarius transits that are coming in 2020, and how that's really going to be a strong collective initiation into the Aquarian way, which is being a human being, you know, being a human, not just like a piece of an organization or a representation of, you know, what success is, like I've been saying, like collectively perceived as. It's more about like really getting into who we're going to have to be to make it through those transitions and those transits, which is somebody that's a little more in their heart, somebody that's not as hyper reactive to change and things not going the way they want, or people disagreeing with them, or people triggering them. Like we're going to have to really step up into that Aquarian credo of like all being together as one, but also having intact our individuality, but not having that to be a disagreement or a discord or a separation. So like unification of individuality, I think we're being prepared for that. And we are getting new identities, I think, in that sense. And they're bigger identities, they're deeper identities, they're more human based rather than society based. You know?
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that because you're right. Like, no, I think the Jupiter square Neptune, like nobody has come to this point without making like bunch of subconscious mistakes, you know, right? So it's like, it's not like, gosh, you're so messed up and you're, you know, it's kind of like we all are. We all have done things. We all have just not really, and I think that this is a point to where it helps us define our identity, like you said. And I think Chiron is helping with that in a more humanistic way. Chiron to me is very human. It's like the real, truly, like I'm willing to like take on the weirdness of being a human as it is. It's a weird thing being a human. And in Aries, with Mars trining Chiron right now as it goes stationary retrograde, I think it's like, yeah, follow the identification of your true heart and happiness, because that's not ego. Like, you know, like Aries, even though it's very good with identification, it can identify with anything. You know what I mean? Like, you could literally identify as like, I'm a table. But I also think Chiron in Aries is bringing up identification issues in the world with what people are trying to associate. And I think in politics, especially right now, there's a lot of debates about like identity politics and stuff. And everybody's just like wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be understood. And that's important. But I also think at the same time, it's like if you're leading your life by that identification and not just like who you are, and there's almost like this Jupiter Neptune thing of this like illusion and this belief that the world will like react negatively if you don't prove the point of that identity and how it should be heard and blah blah blah, when really it's like I kind of like see a different world right now where it's like a lot of the things that we all are trying to prove in our identity is just like nobody really is resisting that at all except yourself,
Right. Except for yourself.
you know.
Or your perception of what you think people are going to be doing, which is
Yeah, like a projection into the future response.
right.
Dylan and I had like a great rabbit hole shadow work session yesterday about this like exact same thing. And it was like, I want to get back to the Aquarian thing too, and I think this is perfect Mercury retrograde in Leo, by the way. And like getting back to Cancer, it's this, who are you? Like, who are you and who do you want to be? And is who you want to be, like, can that actually just be who you are? Like, can you actually just want to be the person that you are? And there's like, I mean, there's been times where I've felt like, God, could I just like be normal? You know, like, could I just like not be someone who feels so much, or, you know, it's whenever we feel different, sometimes we say like, I wish we could be normal. And it's like, what if we just wish we could be who we are and like get rid of this? So I think that that's coming up a lot too. A lot of really old relationship stuff and old like family dynamics and just any kind of like past wounding that Chiron and Aries that's like keeping us attached to an idea that just being who we are doesn't feel good or isn't welcome or whatever it is. Because I think that's what's here right now is this like beautiful opportunity to just get real and just like embrace that.
That's true.
And not lock out like the love. Like that's, I think my message tonight was like everything. There's a nice kite this week where the moon, when it comes into Scorpio, trines the sun at 19, trines Neptune, right, at 18, and then the exact opposition of like the sun to the midpoint of Pluto and Saturn. Like it's like this perfect kite, right? It's like beautiful. And it's like, okay, this is a huge transformational emotional event in people's lives, but the battle is this Cancer Capricorn dynamic, and a lot of it is based upon the blocking out or the controlling of how it should look. And especially now that Chiron's in Aries, you're going to realize like I use dating as an example. Like, well, if like you're on a dating app, like this person's this tall. Nope. You know what I mean? Or like this person likes rock and roll. I hate rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, but like, what if that person, if you love them so much, like you wouldn't even think about that. Like you would just be like, when you're in love, you don't think about those things. So there's a lot of things that are coming up, I think, around this like block.
Yeah.
Towards this amazing, beautiful refilling of life right now.
Right. And the old Saturn way of like almost commodifying life and commodifying people in the sense of like, oh, they don't fit these criteria, they're not good enough for me. Like it's almost like you're shopping for a life, shopping for an identity. Well, if I do this, this, and this, I'll be looking amazing by the time I'm 35 and da 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 da. And it's like the realness that is being born through humanity right now, that is like moving through us in waves so big that we can't even perceive their size, is not going to allow that to be the status quo anymore. Like people are either going to get there and it's going to fall apart. They're going to wake up and realize that they're miserable halfway through the journey, or they themselves are going to be the victim of someone else doing that. And they're going to realize that's not how we want the world to be. We may have been sold an idea that this is how it all fits together nicely, and this is how we can have safety and cooperation, maybe not even sustainability, but just we can sustain ourselves this way. But it's going to have to be more real and more feeling and more, like, isn't it good enough to just be who we are? Like, we were born. Yay.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
That's pretty amazing. We're alive. We're alive. So.
Right. And also, I like how you bring up the blocks for the heart thing, because I've definitely noticed that that's a really big theme right now. And I think it ties into the Aquarius transits, because what Spirit keeps giving me is equanimity and this practice of just noticing like how often the problems come from our really strong opinions and our judgments and our naming of things as like right or wrong or good or bad, this like morality politics, you know? And it's like we all just want somebody to agree with us.
Yeah.
Like we just want somebody to agree with us. And that's like, it starts wars and it also starts so much conflict and so much problem. But I'm just like, what if we could all like let it all go and just like really embrace who we are and not need anybody to agree with that? Like let the people who agree with it agree with it. But we agree with it. Like we embrace it, own it fully. And then there's so much more space to let everyone be everyone else, you know? Like there's not this need to have this like hierarchy or this, it's like codependency in these systems of power, but within love and within family, within relationships. And I think it's like not just noticing when we feel rejected, but noticing when we do that to other people, like when we're holding people off because they didn't like do this or whatever, and we all do it. So it's like what you most want to get, I feel like this is a great time to practice giving it. Just give it freely and see what comes up, see what like prevents you from wanting to do that.
Yep.
Good one.
It's a stress test, and I've been saying it's a stress test, not like stressful Although I think stress tests can be stressful for anybody. Like when you stress test a boat to make sure it's not gonna like is it willing to handle, or like you stress test a heart at the doctor, like get on the treadmill, put it up, like let's hook you up, let's see how your heart's doing, right? Like it's scary a little bit, like the universe is stress testing, and like trusting me, like it's gonna be all right, but willing to show up for the stress test, like well, let's stress test if this really is working in my life and I'm happy from it. That's why like I'm using the like let's put the money on the table, see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
Like instead of like I don't want to play, because you know one thing about going to Vegas, a lot of people are very timid when you take them to tables in Vegas. Like that's just I've noticed it my whole life. Like even myself, I had to get through my own fears. 21 in Vegas, like, oh God, like, what do you want me to do? Like, even though I know how to do it already, but like, you really don't want to do anything wrong. And you notice there's always people that are like, more people are watching than actually playing all the time. But there's something about like, sit down, play, and then after like, I'm not trying to advocate gambling either. I'm just saying that like, there is something fun though about the whole connecting with the people at the table. Once you actually get in the game and you play and you put it all on there, it doesn't even matter if you win or not. It's like the whole experience of like you met this person and they have this weird thing, and then you start hanging out and you start talking, and then you hang out with the dealers, and it's just like now you're in it. And now like you're stress testing like how you are, and then you get over any fear, and then now the next time you're gonna be like, yeah, like let me look at this table, and then you're gonna show someone else like, hey, like you never done this before. Why don't you come on down? I'm more of a roulette guy because it's all about people. And like, I don't know, maybe I like the whole wheel thing because I'm an astrologer, and I like there's like this predictive element, like where they show the last time that we spun it, it landed on, you know, black, and it landed on odd, and it landed on, you know, and it's like, ooh, maybe this time it's going to go red, and I don't know.
Actually, what's coming to me is you were, you shared with us earlier behind the scenes, when you put your cards on the table, right? Yeah. And then I was sharing with Dylan, because we're both going through our Saturn return, and I was talking to him about like, how do you differentiate, you know, like what's actually when you're being guided to be in integrity, or when you're like being overly cautious. And so I think right now Saturn South Node is like, there is this like cautiousness that's coming in, and I think right now it's like this is a time to not be cautious, to like kind of put it all on the table, as long as you're in integrity, and as long as it's actually for like in service of something greater than yourself, like your small self. Like there's meaning behind it, there's purpose, and it's like taking that risk and knowing that if you actually like do it, the universe is never gonna just like leave you out to die. Like that's not going to happen. And I'm, you know, not everybody is in a position where like this fits, so I don't want to say that and speak for everyone. I
think everybody is in a position where it fits in the fact of like, there is something in everyone's life that feels off or weird, whatever that might be. It might be a job, might be a relationship, because of the fact that there is so much coming up here where they are feeling empty, because of the fact that Saturn and Pluto have been in Capricorn with a South Node and eclipses. It dries the emotional well, you know, because we're all struggling to hold on and keep going. And so this is the moment of replenishment. So wherever that feeling is, where you're feeling like weird, it's like throw it on the table of like, you know what? I know I'll be replenished. What were some of the things that I came into these situations with that I either promised or that I said I was going to do, and let me just do them, and let's see if the universe wants it to be that way. Like the full trust of like, I committed, I did it. Everybody messes up. Jupiter square Neptune is just like brought up all of our subconscious. Where some people might not be aware of it completely though with Jupiter square Neptune, but I'd say those that really see it right now, it's like the greatest teacher right now is our triggers, like the shadow work that you do, or even in human design right now, you can see, oh yeah, you do this and there's this happening, and it gets very specific in human design when, well, Dylan was sharing me some of the stuff for him, but it was like, you know, there's this stuff that we can see, and it's like, I am willing to see that, not do that. I learned from it, and let me throw it on the table, and God, I know, like, and by doing that, it puts that energy off of you and to the universe or the other party or the person at the job or whatever it might be. And it will throw that on to outside yourself. It's not about them or me or whatever. It's just outside of yourself for the divine to, and it will give you the answer right away right now. Like Mars is like, I want to go. And everything is like giving the answers. It's eclipse time. Like it's like changing the chapter. So it's pretty like, if you're willing to just kind of throw everything away of how you expect it all to be and what you want it to look like, but you just throw on the table, this is it. Like, where's it all at? And bam, I'm telling you, there's a lot of liberation waiting to be found.
That was the highest frequency state that could have perhaps emerged from this last eclipse. It was the gate. It was the gene key of triggers.
Yeah.
And so my Chiron, right on my Chiron. So this whole week has been about, okay, how do you actually go about manifesting liberation? Do you do it by disconnecting from all your triggers, or do you manufacture a new way of filtering those triggers so that they don't take you to the same spots that they used to? Because that's real liberation, is not being at the mercy of any trigger, subconscious or conscious, but rather having access to you all the time. And also, when you are that, you're carrying that frequency for other people. You're showing them what it looks like to not have to be so identified with one thing or another that a trigger is even an issue, because it's like more about, like we've been saying, being than it is about being right or being looked upon with favor or approval or whatever. So I think if you are having triggers coming up right now, and I think we've been referring to this week after week, but those are your teachers. Those are your teaching moments. Those are amazing places to like create a little bit more space and see if you can generate a different response than you usually do. And in that moment, if you can, you've just made a quantum leap, like in yourself, that will begin to re kind of organize the way that you react to things, and then you gradually become more and more free.
Yeah, and it's just that process of, I mean, call it shadow work, call it inquiry, whatever you want to call it. It's just like questioning your mind, like questioning the fixation of what you think is an absolute. And right now is not the time to be fixed at all in what you think you know. Like, this is a time to be open to, maybe if something's feeling really edgy and really like resistant, open up a question, be like, is this actually a problem? If something's like being lost or being left and you're going through that, grief, it's, like, am I actually sad that I'm losing this? Or is it actually just an idea that I think I'm supposed to be from whatever it is? Because I know a lot of people are like having big changes that are unexpected. And the reaction is to be upset about it. But it's like, but are you? But like, is it
right?
bad?
Or chase after it, or try and prevent the loss, or try and like maybe make amends with somebody that you don't need to, or apologize for creating a situation that maybe on the surface is uncomfortable or triggering, but in actuality is that it's the transits moving through you to place you in a better alignment with your true self and your true life and the people that should be there, so yeah,
and I think it's with Mercury retrograde in Leo, it's gonna take confidence to speak it out, to bring it into the game as well. There's a lot about there's no escape time, even though I think that Neptune trine the sun, it might feel that you can, but actually it's trying to say no. Like, it'll throw you it'll throw you like your patterns like in a different way if you try to escape, like, like to where you think you puddle jumped out, but really you puddle jumped into the same situation, just in a new reflection. And it's not going to be terrible though. It'll just be like, oh shit, okay, hey, maybe I'm going to have to steer the ship into this thing. And it looks like a terrible storm, right? Sun opposed, Saturn, Pluto on the nodes, like that's scary. It looks like it's a stormy ship. But remember that South Node's an illusion, right? It's the illusion that it's all going down. It's the illusion that the world's going insane. It's the illusion that we're actually safer than safe. We're going to realize and probably look 100 years down the road, like, man, they were tripping out in 2019, 2020, when really they were like the safest ever. There might be the transit 100 years from now or wherever where it's like, it's really scary now or something like that. And we'll be like, what were we tripping on? That actually, if we really just are somebody who studies astrology long enough, this is safe right now. And this is safe to be speaking up, doing what's in your heart, letting go of the Saturn, South Node, Pluto, which is, there's a lot of guilt stuff. There's a lot of like holding yourself back because of your own stuff, or even just holding yourself back from what you really want to emotionally feel. Like, oh, I just have to do this. Because that's where the integrity thing is in a weird position. And that's why it's a very hard thing to describe to people, because there's the trickster element of that South Node on that Saturn of illusional integrity, and what is that true integrity? And the integrity is of like showing up to the commitment of like you and your emotion, but also with that Mercury retrograde now and Mars and Leo, I could see the temper tantrum thing with a lot of people, but like for me, I was like, this is like right on my sun. Like, I'm gonna like use this thing to like make sure I don't do anything crazy. And I was like, ooh, there was a lot of peace actually. Like Leo, people think it's like all like fiery. There's also a calm in Leo when you have love, right? When you're in love, there's a calmness about like how beautiful it feels, how beautiful, like it doesn't have to feel like, you know, like high school, like we're going to the dance together and we're going to take a picture now. And like, you know, like that's fun. That's part of it. But there's a very calm feeling of like just looking at that person at night as you go to bed and just like there's a beautiful aspect. And I think that there's something really beautiful about not being afraid, because it reminds me of the lion and, you know, the Wizard of Oz. Like, this is like where that heart's being tested big time. Mars like demanded on Mercury to be like, well, I guess you're going to be like, and I'm just going to be real. Mars is a malefic on Mercury, so it turns Mercury malefic, right? Because Mercury will take a malefic or a benefic side wherever it's at, or it'll just stay neutral the whole time, but it can't, whenever it does it adapts to that side. It's like, okay, I'm going malefic. But it's at least in a positive sign of Leo, but there's this malefic aspect of like, you know, you little bitch, you're like too slow. Like, you need to keep going. Don't go backwards right now. Go towards what you want. And Mercury's kind of like, but I need to recheck and I need to like make sure it's okay in my heart and I'm going to be okay. But Mars, I think, also gave a positive, like, okay, you're not like a little piece of crap planet. Like, just own your courage, and then drove away with its sunglasses on. You know, like,
Thug life.
Meet me later. I'll meet you when you're ready.
Yeah. And like Leo, when you were saying all that about the heart, it's also like, it's the joy and the innocence and the purity of like that childlike curiosity to explore like playfulness together, and like wearing your heart on your sleeve and like putting it all on the table, like putting, like you were saying that it's like, yeah, like right now, if there's something like weighing in your heart and you're just like waiting for the right moment to say it, or you're working it all out in your mind, you know, like you're like having these conversations in your head, like right now, open your heart and like give the other person a chance, give the opportunity a chance, and give yourself the chance, have the courage. Like, I love that you said that. It's because I've known when I've done that in the past couple of days, I've had these conversations, and it's actually been like really heart expanding for me. It's been healing because it's like, it's received in a way that I'm open. I'm like, oh, it's different. And so then that's helping reshape also the identity structures that are coming through, because it's supporting in this way that the mind will trap you into believing it's the same thing, same situation, same block. Got to protect myself, got to go about it this way. And it's like, let the truth hit the air. Like, let the truth hit the air and then let it go. Like, let go of what that brings, but just trust. If you're being honest, if you're being coming from the heart, you can't lose. Like, you can't lose that bet.
No. Where is in human design or the gene keys, like these first, like where the Mercury retrograde zone is, like this first area of Leo, like?
It's actually about, it's right near your sun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually about stimulation and defining the right kind of stimulus for us.
Mm-hmm.
So think of that in terms of Leo and the heart. It's like, what are the things in life that truly intoxicate us in the good way? And what are the things that are merely distraction or stimulation, just on a surface level? So I guess we're revisiting, it's also like the gate of the storyteller as well. So it's about bringing forth memories and personal anecdotes to share, and also to attract attention. So it's all over the place, actually. But I think it's it's more about finding those things that make your heart truly sing, and also realizing where the garbage is that you might be consuming. Like Sarah and I were just sitting here before we started, noticing how much we would just go back to the phone, go back to the phone, go back to the phone. That is distraction at its finest. It's like it's a loop of nothingness. And I think maybe with this Mercury retrograde, we're going to have to really look at our use of technology, and are we distracting ourselves, or are we using it to actually propel, our purpose or our mission or our identity forward? And if it is just a distraction, what else can you be doing in your life that is truly intoxicating to you? That is truly, and I'm not talking about drinking or any kind of substance. I just mean, what is it that has true merit to your heart, that is so enjoyable and pleasurable that it's all you want to do?
Yeah.
And we need more of that in this world. We have become so serious and focused and logical about the use of our time and where we put our focus. And it's become, again, this like gamified kind of like commercial like force that's blanketed the world, where we're all trying to like get more of something, get more stimulation, get more likes, get more whatever. And this Mercury is like a great opportunity to like put that all on pause, because it's still going to be there, and tune into something else that feels correct and isn't just giving your brain dopamine hits, but actually has something to do with who you are.
Yeah, and creative and positive. But I like that, with Sun Saturn opposition too, with this Cancer Capricorn, I think that it's about, we do have to use this energy of like not blocking, but also just like correctly channeling emotion in an area that's worthy of the emotion now, right? Because it's a waste of time now to like throw it on everything, because then it's like, that's draining. That's actually what the draining has been, is like, it's been all over the place, and there's been so much. So now it's like, wait, that's not even worth my time. So, okay, no emotion there, no emotion there, and just really funneling it to the one space. And I love how you brought up the cell phone dopamine thing, because we talked about this before. Like, I don't have any notifications on my socials, 0. So for me, I just go into creative mode, and I like get lost for hours. I'm not even kidding, like lost for hours. And then when I go to my phone, and then I loved Dylan's response or answer to this. I'm like, I got like a treasure trove of like notifications and stuff where it would take me like 30 minutes or 40 minutes to go through thousands of them. He's like, oh, you just save all your dopamine hits. I'm like, yeah, actually, I think I do. Like, there's something better about like, I've noticed, I know I'm not doing something in my life if I keep going to my phone and then it's like, there's no dopamine there. Because I'm not doing something that, when you disconnect from it, like when you like, there's something about disconnecting from notifications and all that, like, and just kind of being like, not having it, getting out of that addiction.
Cycle,
there's an addiction with that. Even
Totally.
my emails are off. So it's like, it's just text message. And I'm not much of a texter. I'm kind of, and Sarah knows this pretty well. I'm not a good texter. I'm just kind of like, yeah. You know, I'm not very like deep, or I just don't have time for that. So like in that mode, when I do come to that area, we still are going to have it. So it's like, we want it. Like, it connects us. But I'll be honest, it's really nice when it's like, fuck yeah. Like, and I have to actually weed what I want to respond to. Like, so the dopamine is kind of like, no. If we're referring this to like a spiritual creative dopamine hit, it would be like, gosh, I got a lot of colors I can paint with, but like, I'm only really going to need these ones right now to get what I need to get done. I don't need to connect with this right now, or I don't need to connect with that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, well, this is all that's coming here. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's what I'll get or I'll do. And it's like,
right. And people have like whole identities based on this. And I think that's actually a beautiful like respite. Like, if you're not getting the same response that you used to on social media, say thank you and go find something real to do. Because not to like demonize anything, because everything can be great in its right place, but you know, we've just become so entrenched in this kind of like technological way of conducting ourselves. And I think that if we're going to be the people that we say we are, which is we want to save the planet, we want to, you know, come together and raise consciousness and all this stuff, that is done through your body and your mind and your spirit in the world, not through a bunch of agreeing with each other in comments or, you know, even sharing a daily message. Like, that's all great, but it's really done through you, the medium of you, and your life is where the change takes place. And so maybe collectively we're just being asked to step up into a greater place of integrity with what we're saying we want in terms of changing the world, you know, and making the world a better place. Maybe it's time to stop talking about it and start doing it and coming together in new, better ways.
It is about new. I'm thinking about, so 2016 was the presidential election, and that was like the biggest dopamine hit of like, what the hell is going to happen on Hillary and Trump, right? Like the battle of that. Now when you're watching the debates, it's like, I literally was kind of like, there's no dopamine there. There's nothing, because it won't be that hit anymore. And so some people, of course, get that hit, but it's like there is this like where you don't feel it and you're not getting it. That's kind of a signal. And I think that dopamine is a positive thing, right? Like, it's part of our genetic makeup.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, if it's like forcing it, like you're forcing the dopamine and you're trying to get it out, like that's what creates addiction in like a cocaine addict or anything dealing with dopamine. Like, it's coffee, like
porn,
it's caffeine, nicotine, like, you know, that dopamine hit constantly, you know, I am a nicotine addict, you know, like I've been my whole life. So I've gone off of it and gone on it and just, so I know. And it's like, I'll know when I'm like, okay, I've like hit this like jewel too much. Or I've smoked too many cigarettes now. Like, it's like not even good. But there's something about life right now where it's like, it's kind of like having, well, if you've ever smoked nicotine, but like, yeah, it's kind of like really, I just don't want another one.
Yeah, we're maxing out on the old paradigm, especially physiologically. And yeah, Mercury and Leo is going to show that, like, highlight that, because Leo is so physical. And so, you know, much tied to what, you know, drives us or what pulls us out into the world or what pushes our energy out there. But
you know what, in the Mayan energy, so it's like, I think it's July 19th through 24th, I think it is the Waib area, like that 5-day cycle of the Mayans. That's like all about the spiritual world coming through, where they were, and this is where Mercury's going to come through the retrograde, you know? So there's something kind of interesting about that we're actually in it right now, that we're in this space where I think when we were talking about earlier, this like letting, like showing up, putting it out there, and then just kind of watching it all happen. And I think that you would think through the astrology that this is a time of where, stop, it's going to be blocks. But I think it's more like show up, put it out there, and just see what happens. It actually will happen really fast. Like Saturn does want to get things done in Capricorn. It's not as restrictive as people think. Like it really is only restrictive when it's not going the direction in which the ship should be going or not going, right? Like, but when it's really got traction, like those goats, like they get up like nobody else can get up that way. It doesn't matter what other sign you are or what other energy. You can be a bulldozer, you can be a flying Scorpio, like, you know, to the with the eagle, but no, it's that goat. Because the eagle's like, oh, this is really high, and I don't have any more food, like, and I'm not really that committed. I don't want to be here anyway.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and that's why I think right now it's like not distracting ourselves with social media and dopamine hits, but also like watching where you're busying yourself. Like, how are you just like filling space and time to like keep yourself feeling like you're going, like you're that goat climbing, when really like you're walking like sideways on the mountain. I feel like we're avoiding slowing down. So like we can't, it's almost like there's a message that's trying to come through the heart, and it's some kind of, I think, deeper healing because it is Mercury retrograde and in these eclipse cycles. And I feel like there's something we're afraid to hear. Like there's something we're like kind of running from, and it could be really good, you know, that we're just like not ready to let ourselves feel that good. It could be something more difficult or challenging, but I feel like slow down so you can actually hear yourself because it's right there. I agree. I think that the clarity is just waiting for us to like being willing to listen and being willing to like follow it. And to not like just drain our energy by saying yes to all these other things. That's, again, I think it comes back to like that gift of being too tired to do that. It's like we have to say no to something, and we have to say yes to something. If we say yes and it's not working out, it's like, okay, is that the thing I need to be saying yes to? Like, take in the information that's like being revealed to you right now, because I think we were so easily distracted before, and we could do it. Like we could get away with it. And right now it's like, it's not working, and that's a gift. It's stopping you so that you stop yourself and you like go up the mountain. That's the actual mountain, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's like a big 4-wheel drive in the mud that's just spinning its tires and wasting the gas, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, yes.
Because Capricorn is traction, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're not getting traction in an area, well, what are you wasting your time doing that for? And I think you're right, though. We could put our energy into like, then like spinning out in some other direction, and it's like, I didn't really get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of the truck, have a good mud wrestle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And find your joy.
Or like
right there in the moment.
Yeah, or like pull the cooler out and have a water and like start laughing about something and wait for the mud to dry for a second. And then it's in that moment when you stop, you see like, there's a big log over there. It's kind of flat. Let's put that under the tires and let's just let some air out. And then let's just give it a little gas, and we'll just probably come out.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's like so simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's so clear. It's like right there. But when you're in it, like you can't see it. So it's a matter of like giving yourself permission to slow down and pause just long enough. It's not slow down for this whole Mercury retrograde. That's not what this astrology is saying, but it's saying stop for a freaking second and like relook and like zoom out and then start again.
I do want to just say a quick thing about this, like story-wise. I remember I was a raver, and so going to raves is like the stimulant thing, right? Like, okay, bam, and it's like the big, it was trance back in the day, and I remember I was like, well, everybody else is liking this DJ, so I'm going to go there. And it's like very stimulating, and I remember my buddy pulled me and said, dude, come into the house room. And like that was like a side room. It wasn't like where the 20,000 people were. It was like, and I was like, yeah, but that's not like where all the stimulant and all the lights and like, all the girls are over there. Like, you know, I'm like, I didn't want to go into this room. And he's like, trust me. And I was like, okay. Because I was like, well, that's slower music. It's not big animated, like, you know, big. Back then it was not like today, but there was LEDs, but not like today. You know, it was like more like lights. But anyway, so I went in this room. There's no lights, you know. And it was the best. It was house music. It was the first time I really like opened myself up to something that I was denying myself of, because I was just like kind of following the stimulation of what I think should be done or what everything, and not allowing myself to feel like something I haven't felt before either, or allowing myself to also kind of follow like what is behind that door, that Uranus and Taurus, like, well, I don't know if there's value there, but I do have to go see. And I'd never been willing to see. When I went in there, my shirt came off, like, you know what I mean? Like 2 glow sticks in my hand for 3 hours. And I literally, my whole entire life changed. Like, that's one of the biggest moments of my life. I know it sounds stupid, but
It doesn't.
that's when I felt love. Like, I was like, love is not just between a male and a female, or a female and a male and a romantic, or a female and a female, or a male and male, or whatever in love. Like, I thought love as a male was just like between lovers. Is the first moment I really was like, I love the whole world and the universe and everything that was within, because I was able to connect to something that, you know, and that's why I'm a house DJ, right? I mean, I play other stuff, but it really was like I found what I was looking for by actually going in a direction that I would never have gone myself. So sometimes maybe with Uranus and Taurus, since Mars is squaring it this week, we might be forced into a position that looks like there's no way I should do this, or there's no way I can, or maybe somebody's coming in. Uranus is always going to be some outside person, or some sort of, or a friend, or some person's coming in to the story, like out of nowhere, every time when it's Uranus. And it can seem foreign, especially when it's Uranus with Mars, and it's going to be foreign to your identity, or foreign to what maybe your identity wants it to look like, but it's going to help direct you into a room that's going to be with this beautiful bull that's like gonna totally, and it was actually funny because it was a Taurus who pulled me in that room, but you know, that's gonna really show you something great and be like, wow. Like there's also this Mars square Uranus where there's this fear of being the rebel right now, right? Like there's this fear of trying something a little bit more radical to feel love, like there's a jump start, right? And that's, I think, the most interesting aspect is like there's nothing to lose, I think, that's the big deal. I think we're so afraid with Pluto opposition to the sun and with Saturn there, and it's like we're afraid to lose it. We're afraid of losing control, one, and then if you go to the deeper layers, we're afraid of like just losing anything that we have, when really when we get to it and the universe makes the call, and if it does get rid of it, it will like be a feeling when you do that, like, wait, actually, hold on, like I actually just gained all this new emotional space that can fill up things that I actually have really wanted, and be more content because that's there. It's like having a closet. Women's number one complaint always is the closet isn't big enough, you know? And it's like, what if, you know, this could open up all the space to put more of what you want in your life, instead of just being stuck in this little closet. Like, there's no room for anything. It's like, do you really need all that crap right now in your life? Like, is this really serving you? Like, is it really in you? Is this what you're wearing? Saturn's very, you know, tailored suit, very nice dress, like classy, like, but it's like, you really gonna keep wearing all these things in your life?
Right, and like Saturn gives us that sense of authority. And I think also that same sense of authority, while it can be empowering to us and others, if we don't allow ourselves to question that from time to time, it can keep us like, oh, I know that's not for me, because like I already know.
Right, that's what I was thinking
And
too.
like with my Capricorn stellium, it's crazy.
You both have Capricorn.
Yeah.
Stelliums.
I fall prey to that. I'm like, oh, I already know. That's stupid. Like, I mean, I don't have to even go there because I already know. But it's like, what if that is that next thing that just jumpstarts my heart again and gets me to feel like a human being, and not just the authority figure, or not just like the position I've etched out for myself, or just the role that I play and get satisfaction from.
Yeah.
You know, that should be questioned.
I'm like, well, first of all, what's coming to me is just like listening to what's telling you that you know for sure. How fast is that voice talking? How fast in your head is that voice talking? How many times has that voice repeated itself? And how loud is it talking? And I feel like right now, like if you're like dead set on making a decision, it's like cutting something out of your life, or it's out of this like that's not right and da da da. I would just invite questioning if that's coming from love or if that's coming from fear. And fear will always be here when we do something that takes us out of where we are, whether it's, you know, an idea of self or it's an actual physical space, it's a new relationship, whatever it is. If we're expanding, fear is going to show up.
I got to just throw this one in. I'm sorry, Mars is in Leo, so usually on this show I sit back a little bit more, but I'm just going to throw this in. With Uranus squaring Mars, it's going to also be either the person, like you're talking about, like as we're talking, you're talking to people of like their own self. But let's say that you are in that good space and you are not going to react. Well, with Uranus square Mars, there's the opposite of also, how are you going to deal with people coming at you with that reaction? So you're either going to be the reactor or somebody else is going to be the reactor.
Yeah.
In this. Like there's going to be no avoiding these situations with these confrontations of the sun and these confrontations with Saturn. And I get my alarm goes right off there. But that's where, whoa.
Yeah. Well, that's the ultimate sovereignty, is to be able to have that happen and to hold space for it.
Yeah.
And to be like, you get to have that reaction.
Yeah.
Like you get to. And to not be, you can be
but
shocked.
But it's eclipses though too. So people do make major choices and they just do them. And then the universe kind of closes them. And I think it's like, that's where you have to like trust this universal aspect of like, okay.
You'll get rerouted. Is that like?
Yeah, because like it will not turn out the way you think it will with Chiron, with Uranus, with Mars squaring it, with just even looking at these eclipse cycles and the in between of eclipses, and there is a Mercury retrograde and it is turning a weird energy, and it is sun based, and the sun is on Rahu, and there's a lot of
Yeah, well, I think that's where letting all the truth hit the air. So if somebody makes one of those just spontaneous combustion of decisions and like freaks out, like if you're capable of it, if you're not in that same space and you're listening to this and you're like, this might happen, I could be ready. That's where the communication comes in. Yeah. That's where it's like, put the heart on the table and like start to learn language for like, hey, you know? And I think we're being called forward to like love our people enough and ourselves enough to like, to ask or to like pause and like, you know, call each other forward, call each other out a little bit in a loving way, not in a like, I need you to figure it out. But people get to make their choices too, you know, and people get to like make those decisions and close those doors. And that's what they get to do. Like
This is the first time for Mars to be in Leo since, so it was 2009 into 10 was the retrograde, and then it came in 2012, and then 2014, 2016, 2018, and now, it was 2017. So there's some, there's always some weird little things there. But what's interesting is this is going to be the first time Mars has been in Leo without hitting Scorpio aspects since the whole Saturn and Scorpio thing, because Saturn was there till 2015, and then of course in 2016 Mars went retrograde in Scorpio. So like, and I think at that time, so if you go back in 2016, it'll be interesting. There, Mars did go through Leo without maybe some Scorpio there, or maybe it didn't. I think it was during Scorpio season when Mars was in Scorpio in 2015, or Mars was in Leo. So it's like there's like no Scorpio Mars is coming into for the first time in Leo. There is no more like, let me keep searching deeper for the truth of it all. That's what I think will blow people's minds, is now it's the value. Now it's like, yeah, you might be emotionally connected, but is it, it's like, and I'm going to come from a king's point of view, right? or royal point of view. It's kind of like, okay, I might be really emotionally connected to the tapestries that my prior success, the successor that I am now, that like to my father or to my queen mother that was there, but like they don't do it for me. There's a little bit of like, yeah, I could fold them up and put them into boxes and put them somewhere, and I probably will just do that, but I'm not into them. So the value of those tapestries are done. Like, there is kind of Mars is a cutting blade, and when it squares Uranus too, it kind of forces this redirection, that's going to force the Taurian story to become more real in our lives. Because last year, when Mars went retrograde, it did square Uranus and Taurus. But that was much more of like is this the right world I'm in, or da-da-da? This is now a personal vendetta of like what I want. Like, it's not about what feels right. Like, what's your mom going to say? What's social media going to say about it? Like, it's like none of that. Mm-hmm. Because I think we got trapped in that last year. This year, it's like, nope. And we have to remember that this is a year with no Mars or Venus retrograde. So it's kind of like Mars and Venus are going to meet up soon. Venus and the Sun are going to meet up soon. And that's what's coming after these eclipses. So it's like these choices that are coming actually have some beautiful, amazing things. And Mars is getting ready for Jupiter. There's all this awesome stuff coming. And I used at the end of Deep Astrology that Juno is in Leo right in front of Mars. And Mars is trying to catch Juno right now. And this is going to go on for like 30 days. Mm-hmm. And so we're all chasing a much more true understanding of the love that we know we want to feel, whether that is in partnership, whether that is in alignment. I think Juno is more than just like the love of like the kind of partner you want, but of more of like the partnership in all things that we have with ourselves and with all these other parts that are beautiful to us. And we are kind of chasing this a little bit through this cycle,
Yeah. It's like I feel like I'm seeing images of like contracts and like loyalty, like being like shattered or like broken or ended. And it's like forced spontaneous revelations of who you actually are and what you actually want and like what you actually want to do. And it's like everything's forced to the surface right now, but it's for the purpose of everything we've been talking about. It's like, because you don't want to actually hide from yourself anyways. No. You don't want to actually stay in something you don't value anyways. So playing pretend isn't working, and having misguided loyalties and attachments are, they're
ending. It's an audit. Like, you're realizing that the value is not what you thought it was.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's, how people be like, oh, I've got this one thing, it's worth so much. And then like finally like an auditor will come, or like they go to like the road shows where it's like the antique road show and it's like, it's worth $5.
Yeah.
For like 45 years I've been holding on to this, and it's sorry.
Yeah.
It's not worth that much.
Yeah. The truth can be traumatic, so I think it's like, just how can we prepare ourselves for being open to seeing clearly, being open to receiving clarity on like what are our true values, what is really not in alignment, what do we want, where are we going, why are we going there. I think just being open to I would put like my priority right now would be like, I want to see the truth. I want to see the truth.
Well, because this is Jupiter getting ready to come direct, right? Mm-hmm. Like Jupiter is 1 degree away this week from its stationary position, because at the beginning of August, bang, it's back on. So with this last eclipse coming, it's setting up the tone for Jupiter in its home sign to trumpet the truth and the opening doors before we come into that gnarly eclipse cycle 6 months from now. And really, this is the door opening. Yeah. All the stuff in Cancer, all the stuff going on, all the confrontation right now that you have to do. It sucks. It's like if you try to avoid it right now, it's like that you're gonna, I don't want to say you're missing the boat, but you're just kind of missing the opportunities of taking you to the place to where it's so much more liberating by just, it's not by this like ego, like having to do. I don't think we have to do as much as we think. We just have to like show up to what is feeling blocked, what is feeling confrontational, and just show up to it and be honest and be open and see what plays out. Mm-hmm. And then when you see it play out, it's like, that's Jesus parting the Red Sea. Like, whoa, with Neptune trying the sun, there is a washing out too. There is a holy water moment this week.
It's like giving it back.
Yeah.
God.
And there's support around too. I think that's one thing that we don't think, right? It's like, if I'm going to go through this, like, I'm alone. It's like, what? No.
Right. Lean
It's
on
right
your
around
support.
the corner. Yeah.
Like literally within a millisecond. Like this, I went through something gnarly Friday. I'm not talking about it publicly yet. And somebody was telling me they went through something similar recently, and they're like, and I do that. I've had to go through that all alone. And I was like, well, I went through it alone. It wasn't like I called my mom and dad to go through this thing. Like, you coming with me to this? Like, no. But the second it ended, literally, it was like I got an invite from an old fashion designer of mine that I used to be a model for, and it was just like, white party in West Hollywood, Saturday, come on down. But I didn't see the white. I didn't get the memo. But I got party, and I got a dress, and I got like 100 people attending, and I'm like, I'm there, and it's my friends, I'm going. It was like instantly, like the universe just, and that's Mars Uranus too, even if it isn't square. Taurus and Leo wants to have the best of the heart and happiness. So it'll like be a magician like that's throwing like bolts at you. It's Merlin coming out of nowhere and be like, pop, 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 pop. Or it's the opposite of that.
So, guys, let's give the people some, action items to really capitalize on this energy this week before we wrap up.
I like that. Why don't we start with you, Dylan?
All right, I got them. So mine are, remember, being a human is not a job. It is an experience that can become so much more when you're willing to courageously let go of limitations and guidelines, rules, and regulations. Also, forgive yourself as quickly and as often as possible, because with heavy energy and with transits that may have us feeling like a part of our identity is being ripped away, we need to have a lot of softness, a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding. And third, a lot of faith. Have faith right now. Work that muscle. Build that muscle. Faith is not just believing in nothing until something happens. Faith is maintaining that the universe loves you, loves me, loves us all, and that we're supported and held in a continuous process of growth and evolution, and that it's not about suddenly losing out and our life is over and it's a tragedy. That's not our paradigm. It's less that way every day that we wake up and breathe and move our consciousness forward. So don't forget that you are existentially held. And remember, this is the mind's game of interpreting threats and changes as things that are negative and life-threatening. That's not the case. This is evolution. So play with life and don't forget to love yourself.
People are loving it in the room, by the way. Dylan is so relaxing. I love Dylan.
No.
Love you guys.
Love you. That was awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Speaking
Tools
from
do you have,
experience.
Sarah?
I'll just share what's most helping me. Right now, the guidance to stay in your lane. So what is your lane? What is yours to do? What is yours to carry, and what is not? And you only have what it takes right now for yourself, and for what you really need to show up for, because this is a pivotal moment in all of our parts and whatever it is that we're here to do. So put yourself first in that way. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and to share, to reach out. So whether it's reaching out to someone for support, or if you're afraid there's an issue, there's a conflict that's not being spoken, there's a problem, don't stay stuck in the mind. Put your heart out there and speak it. So communicate and trust and be brave in that. And I love the support. I think right now is like this Leo energy is like your tribe is like everything, your whatever you call family. You're not alone, and we're all going through it in different ways, and all this change. But reach out, like ask questions, invest in, support from a coach or something if that's, what you need, or just a friend, like just like share. And be present to the person in front of you, because like Dylan was saying earlier, I just think it's so valuable right now. Like we can be online and this is great, and it's like that Uranus and Taurus, we get to connect to so many people as if they were right here. But don't forget how valuable it is to just like be that one kind person that's patient with that one impatient person, whenever that is. So
or multiple
or all of them or whatever. Like people are just people. And the more space we can give ourselves and each other right now, I just think the better for everybody, because it won't always be in this space. So it's like this too shall pass. Let these waves wash through and over you, and stay in your lane. Be focused on what you're giving, because I think the mind right now is trying to block a lot of that heart energy from focusing on what we're not getting, or what we want to be getting that's different, or what somebody else should be doing. And I just use that as like an indicator to come back to like, who am I, and who do I want to be, and who do I want to give, or like what do I want to give. Yeah.
I love that. My tool is I'm looking at this as, do not be afraid to fully penetrate what truly is going to feel the best. This is Cancer, Taurus, Leo, like lined up. It even is Capricorn too, and Capricorn at the end of the day wants the best for the best. And I know it sounds very like greedy when it's not. This is where we fill our cups up to be able to get through a time where there will be no emotional refilling. Like, it will not be that way. Like, this is where we do it now. With the Sun opposed Pluto, without Saturn exactly conjuncted. Remember that, like, this is going to be a very long cycle closing in this next 6 months. That it's not just an eclipse cycle closing for 6 months or in beginning a new one, but it's Saturn Pluto's last 6 months of 35 to 37 years closing at the same time. And that happened in Libra. And so whether you want to look at it from a relationship front, that's probably the main one. We'll be real about our path. To stay in the lane, we also have to go through, it's a very Noah's Ark moment. Like, I know that might sound crazy, but it is, because it is how we fill ourselves up, and we cannot be afraid with that Pluto opposition, the Sun. I'm born Sun square Pluto. My whole life is just, again, when I deny the change that needs to happen, ooh. But when I confront that change and I own that change and I go deep inside to the truth of whatever it is, and I let go of the ego's way of how it should be, or and just am willing to see what the change will be, it is the best feeling on the other side. And I think that this penetration is like not being afraid of like what truly feels. And this Leo is very inspirational, don't forget. And I guess for me, I mean, I don't know, like the Mercury retrograde has been great for me, so I've been like loving this thing, even though my TV broke, but that's whatever. It's just a TV. It's like, for me, I'm like, well, okay, maybe the universe doesn't want me watching and wasting time watching TV in my bedroom right now, because I never watch it in my living room. Like, it's weird. So I'm like, whatever, that's okay. It's like, what am I really penetrating? I'm penetrating deeper into my true happiness, deeper into what I love and fun. This is about having fun again, people, because there's been a lot of hard aspects. Anytime something came into Leo, it went, and had all that Scorpio for the whole time, and it's gone. And now it's got Taurus, which is like, gosh, our currency is love. Our currency is fun now. Our currency is our inner child. And if you're not having that right now, You have no currency. You have no money in your wallet, soul-wise. And I've learned that lesson through being a sun in Leo with a moon in Taurus and Leo rising. Like, that is my life story. I either am fully abundant in my happiness and my love, or my life goes down the tubes when I am not feeling fun, love, and the happiness because I'm overvaluing something that is not offering that anymore. And that is something that we have to realize, that we live in a world, and we live in a world of cycles, and we live in a world where death does happen and change happens. And we live in a world where we think with the Saturn, Pluto, the old patriarchy, that we can keep something forever. And that is something that Saturn and Pluto in Libra was very difficult to in 1982 and 1983, when the peak of divorce had happened, to realize, like, nope. And it was like, there's a counterculture that has been created from that, of like, if you have 4 divorces, or you have 3 breakups, or you have this, like, you're bad. Or if you've slept with this many people, that you did, or what did. It's like, what is going on with all that? That's all closing here. And this is where you have the biggest opportunity to come into the beginning of the year by refilling in your happiness, your truth, and your true currency of your soul and what nourishes you. This is about nourishment, because we need the vitamins, we need the nutrients to get through, because there are none. Not to say that Capricorn doesn't have it, but it doesn't. You know why? Because Capricorn already goes and eats in Cancer, and then it goes, I'm climbing the hill. You maybe get a granola bar, or you get like a little pack of water, but that's about it. It's not like you get to bring up a refrigerator and a microwave and a cook with you up on the trail. Like, that just is not what happens. You have enough. When you go on a hike, you only bring a little. You have to like compartmentalize and only bring enough, and know your reserves, and know when to take a minor break. Okay, we're going to stop for a second, get our breath. Okay, and then let's keep going on the hike. And this is going to be the biggest hike of our lives coming up. So if you're with somebody that's trying to bring a refrigerator up with you right now and asking you to carry that fridge with you, come on. Like, do you really want to go on the hike carrying a fridge? Like, you know how whenever you go in a hike or you go anywhere in life, there's something about somebody being like, hey, I have this big old thing. Does anybody want to help me carry it up? Like, Aquarius is a helper, but what it does is it pours the water and then it moves to the next person. It doesn't go backwards. That's why it's a forward Uranian thing. So when somebody starts crying like, I need more water, Aquarius doesn't go back and it already gave you the water that you need, and then it's got to make sure that there's enough for everyone. And if you're in these places right now where it's like, no, I need more. I need to pull from you more. I need that more. And it's pulling your currency, and it's pulling your happiness, and it's pulling all these things. This is what is Cancer is about, taking care of yourself. And that is a cardinal sign, and that is a directional thing in your life. You know what you must do. And this is going to be, and I've been promoting this. I won't even say promoting, but I have been prophesizing this for as long as you all have known me, for 7 years, that this point is literally going to be the hardest point for people of when it comes to attachments, relationship-wise, attachments to other things that we partner ourselves with, addictions, whatever you might call it, but it is things that we think bring us peace that don't. They do not. They are not peaceful. They are not in alignment. They are not balanced. They are not fair. And this is going to be very, very difficult for people, because this cycle is coming to a close. And this is your last chance. I will say it again. There are no more eclipses after this to change the chapter. You will be in them. And they are very hard to get out of. And all these planets are fucking retrograde, where you can use this moment, because all the planets will be direct again at the end of the year. In October, you'll see this huge thing coming into it. And Jupiter's ready to come direct. And this is where we are going through all the karma right now with the retrogrades. And this is where you release the karma so you can use the forward movement, have the nutrients to get through the biggest, craziest, barren, but ultimate place to reach in your life. But we will walk through the barren where there will be no water. And so we must fill up now. And also we must fill up our hearts. We must fill up our positivity, because if you have enough of that, it'll be just enough to get you to the end of that trail in 2020 to 2021 to prepare us for the Aquarian age, because that's the only way to get there. And that is not going to be easy. People are too comfortable. This is where laziness is taking over. The laziness of dealing with confrontation of a deep truth that nobody wants to be real about, that the alignment of relationships are not in line with what your truth is. And you know this, and people are terrified, and they will not do it. They will find an excuse to stay because of the fear of what is beyond in the paradise that is waiting for us. There it is. I think we should, if you guys want to get readings with Sarah or Dylan, you honestly, I am somebody that I do not promote a lot of people for readings. These two have helped me in my life more than you know. That's why they're on this show the most. These are the regulars on this show. Dylan, where do they find you for your services?
thespiritadvisor.com, on Instagram at The Spirit Advisor. See you there.
Sarah?
Yeah, sarahpaasch.com, and Instagram is just Sarah_Paasch. And then we're both in the High Vibe Lightworker
Their
School.
school is amazing. Their courses are ridiculous.
Mine's
But
still being birthed.
not only with that, but when you can have time with them, like they do the work and they really can help. Especially, this is a very intense time. I like what Dylan said, though. It is not as scary as it is. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more scarier to not look at the truth right now. And that's scary. Like, it's scarier to deal with what's really going on inside than what you think is the reaction to what will happen on the outside. So,
Know thyself, first rule of life.
yes. And to help support the show, of course, just check out highvibe.tv. Of course, we have a subscription to watch daily horoscopes and all the other content, and there's a lot of other people on there, or the High Vibe TV school. But for those that want to donate, all you have to do is just, you could purchase a individual video. We start them at $1 for like the daily videos and stuff. So we of course have specials on there as well, like my Eclipse special, which is really popping right now. Anyway, it was a great time with both of you. I love you both very much. It was so nice to have you again.
Yeah, it's good to be
Love
back.
The
being
trio
here.
is back.
Yeah, missed you
And
guys.
we're sending all our love to you, and just know this is going to be a big time. And we're here for you. So don't be afraid to reach out to us three on our socials and stuff, so we can get a couple dopamine hits.
Yeah, we love that.
Love you all very much. We'll see you on the next After Dark.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.